Um, one of them is they were doing some stupid shit over there. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am here with Tuck tonight. We are going to talk about something that is, by all definition of the word, dark. It will and has and is affecting every single one of us. Outside of everything that we could possibly disagree on, this is one of those things where I have connected the dots. I don't know the who, but I know there is a who. I've gotten that far. I have reached past everything and I've gotten to the point where I know there's a who behind this. That's how sure I am. What I have not been able to do, like I said, is reach that point of figuring out exactly. I mean, I think it might be the World Health Organization, or it might be the Economic Forum,
or it might be the UN.
Or it might be the UN. I definitely know it's not the United States. The United States would never do this to us.
How certain are you to this?
I am
These
absolutely
could be
positive.
rogue actors within the United States.
No, I mean there could be rogue.
It could be a Mr. Fauci.
Well, see, that's what. Most definitely, it is those individuals, but those individuals are taking orders from somebody. They're
not necessarily. They could just ideologically believe.
Well, here's the thing. Before I go into that part, tonight we're going to talk about the flesh equation. Not the religious flesh equation. We're talking about us, our flesh. We're weak. And the flesh that we eat is also weak. We're going to talk about ScrewWorms tonight. We're going to talk about, yes we are. We're going to talk about the ticks again. Because I have finally spoken to experts. I have finally got to people who I needed to get to. And let me tell you what, some of these experts are terrified. The experts in the ScrewWorm cases are terrified. The experts in the tick cases are terrified. I have talked to cattle ranchers. And let me tell you, a Midwest cattle rancher draw and a Southern boy like me's draw, when we're on a live stream or we're on a phone call together, it is so freaking hard to understand. I mean, it's just back and forth. I mean, but we managed to do it. In one case,
you gotta realize a third of the country can at least understand it.
Well, in one case, I was able to have a dude's wife there with him, and I mean, we were maxing it back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck do you say, dude? But here's the thing. I spoke to these people. I spoke to hardworking people that put food on your table, hardworking people who feed cattle. We're going to talk about cows. And we're also going to talk about individuals, including scientists, that for some reason has decided to game the system in such a way they will force, at the cost of human life, at the cost of a failed society, to meet and see their ideological goals of reshaping society itself. Now, before we start, I want to talk about, I had it up and I lost it. There it is. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, right after this one little thing here. Now, for a long time, we have heard about climate change and all of the rallies and all of the things that where people were pledging money and putting money into it. And I was thinking today, I said, well, if they were putting all this money into these climate change things, what were they actually doing? We don't know. We don't know the outcome of the experiments and stuff they were doing. We don't even know if they did experiments. But I do know the climate change finance, that is the place that holds all of the climate change money, hit a record $1.9 trillion in 2023. That was how much money they had to spend playing whatever games they wanted to play. Now, go ahead, Chuck.
Who are the spenders? Who's the most philanthropic, and like who's the most ideological aligned with everything that's going on? Because you got to realize you've got this isn't just one person. This is multiple people, a conglomerate of people that are combining their numbers so that they can reach an ideological goal that they all have common interest in, whether it be for profit, for power, for influence. And if you're talking about reshaping it, yeah, once you cull the population, you still have to procure them ideologically. And I think the AI may end up being the final piece. So, like, as a curiosity, who is really putting the money into these programs, especially AI? Who's the big spenders?
Well, yeah, but I think AI is just the lone piece of it. It's not.
It's the final piece.
Well, not. I wouldn't say the final piece. The final piece is everything coming together and happening and burning off. AI is just a piece that would run the society. Think of like if most of the population got disposed and there's still some people around and they're in cities and things like that, and how empty the cities would be. Well, these cities, well, they would now have AI mayors. They would now have AI board members. They will make decisions based on how they feel or think that the current citizenry is left. We all become ones and numbers, a program, and an association of accountability. And we are accountable to whoever controls the largest and most effective AI system. But that is their version, their idea of a utopia. A utopia is a place where you don't have to think about anything. You just have to live your life, jump around in your onesie. Allow your balls to drag the reeds beside the pond without worrying about getting ticks. Whatever it is you like to do, you weirdos. But I mean, that is where we are. In a flash. Now, we also need to say this. Originally, when I plotted this timeline, I thought, okay, if it was going the way it was going, we would have 5 or 10 years before we see this. But I wasn't taking into account of how bad ScrewWorms is. I wasn't taking into account of how bad the weather has gotten in these places. I wasn't taking into account the amount of insurance claims that were filed by farmers, not in just one, but many states. And I didn't take into account about weather modification until I did. You see, the thing is, over the past few years, many of us have decided and thought there's some weird shit going on. But we're not connecting the dots. We're not hearing the right words for it to click in our brains, you know. Like, for example, and this is a new thing, the thing that David Grush said about aliens, he said that, and he constantly said this over every interview, he said that we had biologics and I have seen audio-visual. Well, everybody just seems kind of like glaze over that. And then he come back out. He tried to reframe it when he was at that thing that Tuck was at. And then he had to come online, come on news and reframe it. He says, no. He said, what I'm telling you is I have seen the craft. I have seen pictures of the craft. I have seen us recover those craft. And I have seen the bodies. So
he's even talking about the kinds of bodies, like the Nordics and the, and he was even saying that they're semi-translucent.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what piqued my interest.
Well, I'm just saying is when you start looking into it, see, like if I originally, like if you were to ask me to kind of like give you a visual picture of how I would think an alien looks. Now, it wouldn't be a gray, it wouldn't be a Nordic, it wouldn't be, anything like that. I mean, my sci-fi brain, if I were going to write it down and make a story about it, I might.
Predator?
No, not like Predator. Like some type of bodysuit, mech suit. But these vessels, they keep finding these eggs. Oh, by the way, guys, I have saw one of the Holy Grails the other night, and against my better judgment, I'm going to set up a white screen behind me, and I'm going to show the video. Not tonight, but soon. It's going to take me a minute to set the thing up. But it shows a helicopter. It shows the view from a gentleman's, who will not be named, military helmet. And it shows them wrapping the thing around a egg-shaped object that is about 20 foot long. It looks just like an egg. And it shows that they were lifting it, and it shows them moving it to a tractor and trailer for relocation. And this was all government, military, Black Hawk, everything, special retrieval teams. So I do know that they are retrieving objects that we can't physically explain from seeing them on audiovisual. I have saw that. Most of the internet probably has not saw that, or they saw something like it, but they've not seen anything like this, and it is legitimately real. And I'm like I said, against my better judgment, I am going to show it on a screen behind me in a forthcoming video. Because I actually wanted to implement that for some other reasons. I mean, the screen type thing temporarily. There's some really interesting stuff that's coming up that I'm going to need it for, or I'm going to need a whiteboard for. But I don't want this podcast to turn into like some dumbass trying to teach a bunch of students. I don't want that to turn into this. But however, in some cases, a whiteboard or a back screen projector, which is a little different than what most people use. This is what I would be using in here is basically what you would use in a my volume? Is it too high? Probably. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, we need to y'all need to see it. So anyway, and it's not something that I can easily replicate and put on digital media. That's another caveat. Okay, cool. But hey, it might be a little distorted. I don't know. I mean, it should be fine. Sometimes the audio goes a little wonky. It's not us. It's the YouTube end. Um, I can make some modifications, but most people hear me normally. Okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about sound. If you can't hear me, that's when you need to say something. Um, Plus it might sound a little distorted. But I got a rasp in the bottom of my voice. You'll probably hear it a lot tonight. Um, it may be from smoking too much weed.
Or
I do.
not enough.
No, 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 no. See.
It'd be a good segue after this is the Afro Man court case. I mean, to turn something dark and have something humorous at the end.
Well, I mean, we're in our general talk phase right now. I mean, you can talk about it. It's fine. I mean, did he win? He won, didn't he?
Yeah, he won, and it was just in the way in which he fucking slapped those cops. It was hilarious, dude. He went viral over this shit.
I know he done see, Mama's Pound Cake. Yeah, Mama's
Yeah,
Pound Cake. Yeah, the rap song. And then, what was it? Duke and Hines or whatever cake company that is. Um, Done
yeah. He called him
yeah.
out for taking a snitch.
No.
You
They
know.
did a cake. They made a cake. They make like the instant cakes. You can buy them. You can buy Mama's Pound Cake, and it's got Afro Man sitting there holding his hands up. And
Yeah, see the
you can make the same cake he made. The cop tried to get. Um,
well, the cop took it. He actually ate it. That's why I called him out for it. Like, um, they didn't even have a basement. They confiscated his money. What was it? They took the word of a snitch that was trying to stay out of jail. Because they were pressuring her for fucking information. So, and she was already fucking crazy to begin with, and they took it because it was an opportunity and they needed to win. Well, yeah, and so Afro Man did like multiple songs or one big song about it, and that's why they were suing him to begin with.
well,
And
see,
it was just if you,
that's another reason why you never ever. It's not something we got to worry about, but it's that's the reason why you never ever show off or talk about your wealth because you will always have some motherfucker out there that will within the legal framework to think, okay, well we need to watch this guy because he has money, and if we can come in, we can take all of his shit, and then we can put that money there. We can use that money. It was a big thing in California. Speaking of California, Charlie keeps following. Speaking of California, um, they've done some tests and some other things, and it looks like the big one they've been worried about could actually happen. And
what the one that's gonna make
soon,
San Francisco roll into the fucking Bay Area?
something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know why that's
It's
gonna
going to be
happen,
it's going to
right?
be destructive enough that you're going to see. I mean, friggin' apocalypse now kind of people moving through the streets trying to get into that. They literally. I was told by an individual that lives in the places that borders California. They have things set up now where they can manage people coming in and out of state. For some reason, other than the borders themselves, California is one of the only states you got to go through that kind of crazy checkpoints. And they got stuff set up now where they can, direct and redirect human foot traffic that would from Cascadia events.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! How are they doing this?
They got stuff set up. They got plans in place. They have already expanded some big highway down there. All kinds of stuff, man. It sounds like they really think that this is going to happen and soon. So I don't know.
Huh. I think that that's weird that they could do that. But I mean, I can kind of see it because if you see what goes on around DC, and that's kind of with the fencing and the we got construction, or even when you're on the towpath, there's a dam that you go by. It's been under construction for I don't know how many years. It was under construction when I was here last time, and it hasn't had anything happen to it since. But it's got fencing and all kinds of other shit up there, so that and a construction crew shows up, but nothing really happens. It's kind of like night shift.
Well, California, you need to look at in the sense that it is a prison that's already built, and the reason I say that is, we were talking about the movie the other night. It seems like you keep seeing movies repeat themselves, and I think about Escape from L.A. And the whole premise of Escape from L.A. is that there was this massive earthquake, the Cascadia thing, and that it is just so bad there, they decided to go ahead and seal it up as a prison and let people live there free range or whatever. They drop you in, and that's your life. And I think that's kind of like what they're planning for. Um, but yeah, I would that would be the only way they would want to reuse that land after that. I mean, nobody
Is
can
for
live out
what?
there, huh? As a prison,
Is for what?
as a prison.
Oh, the Palisades.
No, it'd be the whole of California, Nettles all the way up and down.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep, the whole of California would be turned into a
Do
massive
do
fucking
you
prison.
do you know what happened to San Francisco in the 1906 earthquake? Do you know like the
Uh,
history, like the aftermath and everything else like that?
well, I know some of the things we were told, but see, here's where all that gets weird. Back then, there's a thing they call a flood myth, and there's a thing, and then you can kind of disprove something, and some other stuff pop up. But we have found trinkets out there and coins. I can't remember the name of the coin. I got obsessed with them there for a while, but it's from another country in like the early part of man, before California was ever California. And anyway, it as they dig down in some places in California and Oregon and Washington, they seem to find other layers of construction. And
Huh.
yeah, so there's a going theory that maybe at some point in time that there was other people that lived here in the United States in some parts.
According to Meyer, the Mojave Desert, I believe that's where 29 Palms is. Um, that is the site of a nuclear blast from like thousands of years ago.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I just found out we did a nuclear underground nuclear test in Arkansas.
When
That was some of the wildest shit I've ever heard.
when
This was back during the 50s.
Oh, okay.
They come in and well, I mean I don't know, but anyway they come into this town and they were like, we need to study fluid mechanics of the ground, and they were wanting to test a nuclear weapon underground, and they dug a bore shaft and they set this thing up, and when they detonated it, they didn't realize how much they were detonating, and the ground started to move like sand and swallow up things, and it was weird. and the people it reported on, and the lasting effect it's had on the town and the area is also another big issue. But nobody wants to talk about it. Never knew that there was that type of test in that area or place. Always thought it was in deserts and things like that. But you know, it's not safe to go underground because we don't know what they've done down there. I don't know. I just I hear things like that. Now there's also the nuclear, not nuclear test, but the nuclear reactor that was supposedly. I don't remember. It was off the coast of something. Was it Italy? I think it was. But anyway, they found radioactive uh, decay that was consistent of an earlier nuclear explosion.
From what time?
Like, um, I'll have to look. See, first natural. This has been a this has been a hot debate. It's 2 billion years old, and it's in Gabon, West Africa.
Hmm.
Um, it's important in the sense that you have these active nuclear reactors, and they can pop up at any time, and they can contaminate an area just like a nuclear weapon would. They claim that there's this great oxidation event, and this is why the reactors can't form on Earth today. But they would be wrong. Things have changed a little bit. Because the one that's still going is still going. I mean, it's there. But you can go look up. You can go look up the. Oh hell, there's a message. I just got another message. This is California earthquake risks. This come out of Yahoo. It says that it's in a This is the researchers say the fault systems are in a critical loaded state with tectonic stress at 1,000-year high. San Andreas fault risk hits 1,000-year high, raising quake risk. There's been a lot of weird quakes going on out there. And it don't help. We just did a nuke test in Nevada. Man, I don't like earthquakes. I'm sorry. I do not like earthquakes. I don't like earthquakes, and I don't like tornadoes. I can handle hurricanes, but I do not like hurricanes or earthquakes. I mean tornadoes and earthquakes. Um, for those of you, Tuck, have you ever been in an earthquake? You? Are you there? I'm not sure. I think we lost him.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
No. Okay. All right. So I originally I was trying to get us to kind of go on the whole San Francisco thing for a reason. So after the 1906 earthquake, in order to rebuild, the financial district all the way down to Fisherman's Wharf is all of the rubble that they took in there, and they just did a land extension and put some dirt paved over it, whole 9 yards. But in order to be able to protect themselves from the next earthquake, they put the whole thing on rollers. But the thing is that they're expecting the next big earthquake to hit to be a rolling earthquake, which that means all of San Francisco that's on rollers is going to roll right into the ocean.
I wonder what that looked like, though. I mean, I mean, I mean, I can't help it. I mean, my mind just works that way. Like, oh, something fucking horrible is going to happen. Well, how's that going to look? And I need to come up with this cinematic description in my brain of something happening. I mean, California's history and its saga, its everything is. Where's my coffee? Is sad. Let me go yell at the cook real quick. I'll be right back.
But yeah, that's so when people start talking about the big one in California and stuff like that, they're actually expecting that the next one is going to be something that causes it's going to be like a rolling earthquake. And so that's what they're expecting is that San Francisco will just kind of like roll right into the bay. you know, the whole city is on rollers, and they've actually like if you live in San Francisco, you can go to the Earthquake Museum, and you get to there's a lot of learning that goes on about earthquakes there, and the local population is very educated on earthquakes and kind of like what happens and stuff like that. In San Francisco, for some reason, I never felt it anywhere else but there. It's like when you're sleeping on the ground, it's like you're rocking, and you're sitting there going, what's going on here? Like, am I hallucinating or what? Turns out that there are so many tremors that are going on every day that, like, after about 6 months, you stop noticing it and start sleeping through it. So you spend most of your night rocking back and forth.
Yeah, fuck
So
all that.
that's something interesting about, like, if you like, San Francisco is especially
Uh-uh.
known for that.
No.
But there's other parts of or California that are like that too, I'm sure.
Absolutely not. I mean, I actually, I about, like when I was on my great boat ex- escape arcade thing, majigger, um, I about got a boat down there too. I was going to get a boat in the harbor because it was actually inexperienced. I mean, not inexperienced, but didn't cost very much at the time. Plus, it was right in the city, and I could spend probably, I don't know, at least 4 good years in a city like that before I get bored, like writing stuff.
What,
Um,
San Francisco?
yeah, San Francisco is one of
Well, you
them.
could spend 3 lifetimes there and never get bored.
Yeah, but I mean, well, some things that I just like migrate to. Some things I'll just find boring, and other things are just.
Dude, there's always an experience if you're willing to just
Thank you.
trance.
My cup. Where's my cup? But, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it, but like I said, it's probably going in the ocean. So
Yeah.
say your goodbyes.
It
Um,
used to be a beautiful city.
thank you. But did you guys hear about what's going on in Ireland?
Maryland?
Ireland.
Ireland. Oh, oh, I actually talked about that on my Patreon. Hold it. Excuse me. So I ran into some people that were going to the UFC. They were from UK, and they were telling me what was going on over there, and I thought it was fairly interesting. So essentially, in order to avoid Islamophobia, they were publicly saying that it was British citizens that were doing it. Like, fucking, they're not goddamn British citizens. You could tell how pissed off they are, and
Oh yeah.
everybody is like literally scared there,
Well,
and they're
they know it's the Islam people because hell they all. I mean, if there was any question about it, they know now that that is not the case because they've literally. It was this morning or last night in the UK. There was all of like the Islamic people gathered together and guys and they went on like a rampage through Britain. Um, yeah, I mean they're literally being the same. I mean that's the kind of shit that you're gonna expect and find when you go to go to UK and Ireland and Scotland because if you don't fit in, man, you don't fit in. Eventually, they're going to do something. Them crazy motherfuckers will do something, and Ireland is a good example of that. And
um,
they've gone in the streets and they're having lynching parties. Um, but yeah, yeah. I mean,
You know what's
they
funny?
need to get it under control.
You know what's funny?
Huh.
As all this started after we went into Iraq the first time, and the whole Middle Eastern world took our actions in Iraq as the newest crusade. And so if you look at kind of like how they've done their conquest to go into Europe, they just chose to do it through immigration versus, bringing a standard military this
Well,
time.
it's in the book. It's in the what's the book of Islam called?
Quran.
Yeah, it's in the Quran. It tells you exactly how to do it. You
Yeah,
know.
lie because they're infidels.
Well,
You can
no,
lie
no,
to an
no. It
unbeliever.
tells you how to conquer civilization, and that's their playbook. They go in, they become part of it, and then they just turn. And I mean, even in the
I
Bible,
mean,
it
that's
said
confused.
even in the Bible, it says that I will rain down upon your gates brown and unwashed and uncircumcised men to cause chaos. And this is one of the end times things. And I mean, this is basically no one wants to talk about it because it sounds racist. No one wants to talk about it. That is descriptive of that class of individuals.
Or does it say this?
I'll send it to you. But it's in the Bible. Um, no, actually, I can go look for it now. Da-da-da.
Hey, you want to hear something really funny?
Sure, I'm looking for this.
So according to Meyer, as the poles shift, like our North Pole and our South Pole, our new poles are going to be Brazil and Saudi Arabia.
Do it now.
I think that's yeah, Brazil and Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's just funny as shit. All those fucking yeah, they're going to be under ice here pretty soon. They don't need to worry about their oil. It's kind of funny because those are the two places that we've done the most damage, and so the ice, I guess, would heal it. I wonder if that's how nature heals itself is through the poles.
I'm gonna have to ask somebody. I think. But we were talking about it. I know it's in there. I got it marked in my book. Foreigners uncircumcised in the heart of uncircumcised flesh. Like there's a couple of variations on it. That ain't it. But I was talking about them. But it does. We'll touch on that. I'll find it. Because you wouldn't believe how many freaking entries in the Bible there is about uncircumcision and uncircumcision willowweckers. Uh, uh, it's like
Yeah, that was a big thing. That
it's
was
like they really
tribalism.
want to drive the point across, but it's in there. I can assure you. I mean,
Yeah,
we used to make jokes about it as kids. Um,
you should, I don't know. I yeah. You should read Meyer's depiction on who the Hebrews really are, who the
I
house
well,
of Israel really
none of
is.
that. Remember that's a no no. That's a the right now all topics concerning
Oh, sorry,
yeah
wasn't even thinking about
yeah
that.
that is on a like it has to be spectacular for me to talk about them right now. I'm not going
Okay,
to.
I just wasn't even thinking about it like that because it was information. But okay, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
That's walking up to the line.
that's
Yeah,
walking up to the
got it.
line. That's a line. That's a line that I mean. Eventually, I recross lines that I draw when it comes to this channel. Like when we were starting, like when I was first doing this, my manifesto was I wasn't going to ever talk about political stuff unless there is a weird association with it. And for the most part, I didn't. I didn't speak anything about politics. Didn't talk about politics on the air. Didn't put politics in my videos. Well, I tried not to. And for some reason, I tried once, and I got a lot of kickback on it, and I just didn't like it. And but doing the live show, I realized that I have to. So, this is not something I can get around because there is.
Well, you're relaunching, so you can attract a different type of audience. It's what I'm doing with my channel.
Well,
I'm attracting a
this
different
wasn't an
audience.
audience thing. This was like a personal thing that I mean, my audience is pretty much like, hey, dude, just make some shit. They don't care. I mean, for the most part, most of the people, the older people that are here they're like, I'm glad you're on. Make some stuff. They're like, you know, this is the man that puts out some of the weird shit and we all like. And then there's other people who know some of my other personalities and things like that, and they come here because they just like it. I mean, there's a lot of weirdness that goes on with this channel, and there's a lot of, you know, the way I have done things. You never know when I'm going to drop something just crazy. Someone here on the thing is talking about. He says the best video you ever posted on YouTube was the CERN videos back in the day. And I mean, I agree. I mean, I worked on those when I was a kid, as it was coming up and everything else. I mean, I met somebody that pushed me along with that story. There's a lot more truth there than you. I had to put a disclaimer on most of my videos.
Wow.
So there's.
I got a question for you,
Sure.
since you've got a lot of. Okay, so like right now I'm talking about the executive order and the progression and stuff like that, but you get to a point where it's like, okay, I've talked about it enough. How do you keep the stories going when you're kind of, you know, how do you keep it going along the way when even the news is dead? Because I've learned to talk about my videos during my live stream. It drives traffic there. Um, and so like I'll talk about them and stuff like that, or I'll do an offshoot. So like I talked about House Bill 211, and then redirected people back to some of my videos that was talking about that. But the thing is there comes a point where it's like, okay, you've gone through, you've researched it to a point where you can research it, and then it's like time to get on to the next story because everybody's going to get fatigue after a while.
Okay. Now see that's my channel for the most part, and this is the way I recommend anybody to do this. Once you put in planning videos, what you're going to do, you start driving yourself crazy because then you got to plan the next one, you got to plan the next one, you got to plan the next one, you got to plan the next one.
Yeah.
Now, I live my life holistically. And I don't mean drugs and stuff like that. I don't mean weird drugs that you take and they may work, may not work. I believe that there is this interconnectedness of everything. This coffee cup, when I set it on the table, it is interconnected with that table now. The liquid in that cup is interconnected with the coffee cup and the table. And now there's a string hanging off of it. I keep a string on there as a memory of something I don't want to forget. Now, this is my special coffee cup. Without this coffee cup, I would be lost. Now, the thing is the interconnectedness of life. And you have to figure out how you need to adapt it in. But you do a story. And something in that story, it needs to be different from the original idea. But something in that story is your thread. And you pull on that thread. And then in the next video, you pull on another thread that's in that story. And so forth, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And it will lead you down a path. And
Okay, I see what you're saying.
you will eventually learn that the world is really small. Very small. You will learn that the things that affect you affect me, affect somebody else. It doesn't matter if you're old or young. It doesn't matter if you like cats or dogs. But these things affect us all. And they will, at some point, burn us all. Go down like a domino effect. And I mean, that is the flesh equation tonight, guys. Our flesh is weak. The flesh we eat is also weak. But it has so much power over us. Can you imagine? Now, there are vegans out there, and I know I have a few vegans. One of my best friends is a vegan. I was amazed when he turned vegan. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. I am not here to bash vegans tonight. I don't know why I need to say this, but I do. I am not here to bash vegans. If you're a vegan, all the power to you. I'm sure I will eat vegan meals, and I will probably try to be vegan at some point in my life, for whatever reason. Maybe just switch, maybe a change, maybe something new. I don't know. But I like meat. I do like meat. My body likes meat. I have a rare blood disorder that makes me really like meat. And hopefully will be fixed here in the next coming month, or partially at least anyway. But a lot of us like meat. We like the taste of it. We like the tenderness or the hardness of it. We like the feel a steak has as you bite into it softly. I don't know. When you describe the best steak you've ever had, it's so hard to do. Your first memory of a steak. You know, we may not remember those things, and we may have already pushed them out at our ages. But if we can remember the first time we ever had bacon, or a pork chop, or a steak, or a hamburger, or whatever, you know, there was something in our brain that snapped. First time I ever had McDonald's, I was like, "What is this? My mom don't fix this," you know. And I still get that way. I still get that way. I cannot see a world without meat of some kind.
I'm in the same boat. I like my meat.
And the other thing is meat feeds a lot of people. But for some reason, the equation, the flesh equation, has decided that you can't have it no more. And it's going to take it away from you. First it was slow, then it sped up some, and then it's really fast. I expect, you can quote me on this if you like, I expect within the next 1 to 2 years, 3 at max, that the beef meat market will be totally destroyed. The only thing that will be left is rare, rare, exquisite steaks that you would have to pay thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars for.
Why?
Because they'll be so rare. They'll be so obscure. Like,
Why?
because the
Is this the ringworm thing?
this is the yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll get into it, but the screwworm, once it infects the cows, it ruins the meat. It it's a parasitic fly. Plus, you have them culling the populations. I mean, if you can look ahead the way we shouldn't have to, cows, our version of cows, are going to become an endangered species. That's why I'm saying it's going to be so rare. You know, sure, there'll be people who keep them going, but there won't be as many. And then you'll have people who are allergic to the meat because they were bitten by a tick. But I guess we can slowly start here.
So is this how Donald Trump is bringing prices down?
No, this would bring prices up. This everything's going to go up because of this. This is another one of those things. This
Well, if you got less beef and less demand, it's going to bring the price down.
No, man. This is if there's less beef and less demand for beef, then that means the American Southwest and this side will collapse. Texas will collapse because meat, cattle, is one of their number one financial sources. You're talking about a wave effect like you see in Ohio, like desolate cities like you've seen in Detroit. Lost some money, farms that are not running anymore because they can't afford to. People can't, more and more homeless people and more of everything. This would devastate the majority of the United States financially. That's the other side of this. You guys are going to hear a few numbers tonight, and I mean it's astronomical. Prices might be better now. They weren't. Things might look better for us on the horizon, but it's not. Now we're at the 1 hour mark. I'm gonna go smoke before I start, so I'm gonna let Tuck do his
Ramble.
Tuck ramble and do a segue if he wants to, and then we will get onto it. Now, guys, tonight's show, fair warning, it might be a long one.
Okay.
Tuck was reminding me like we stuck on these 2 hour marks. I'm like, no, we can go on. I didn't feel well. I feel better tonight. I think I got dosed up pretty good. Yeah, tonight could be a long one. Tonight there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, just the actual implications of it in our own lives and things like that. And once you start seeing what I saw, once you start seeing what I see, and once you start hearing the things that I spoke with other people on this subject, you will kind of draw the pictures together. Like all the stuff that we've talked about before, all the stuff you've read in books, all the stuff you've been told by the crazies seem to come together when you put this out on the table. It's like perfect. It's like everything now that's happening that's weird seems to perfectly fit together. I'll be right back. So, have it.
So anyways, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Friar Tuck. I have a channel. I talk about homeless education awareness and or excuse me, homeless education, survival, and policy. So if you're interested in that topic, that's what I talk about over there. This gives me my variety. That's why I like doing this. So, because I'm more than just a guy that talks about homelessness, but the way the algorithm works is when I try and venture off a little bit outside of my norm and try and pivot, it didn't work very well. And yeah, so I've just learned to stay in my lane there. Maybe one day I'll do a channel for something else different, but um, I am going to so when I start panhandling, or actually I'm not going to be panhandling. I'm working on a project. I was just being lazy today because it's like we had a long weekend, and it wasn't like we sat around and did nothing. It was actually very productive for us. But Sam and I, my dog, um, I wanna do some rocks, some painted rocks for the 250th anniversary since I'm here in Washington D.C. See if I can sell them for like 10, $15 a piece. Get PayPal or whatever, and have people pay me on PayPal. Um, and because I'll take Venmo if I have to. I really, really don't want to, because to transfer it over to PayPal is a pain in the ass, and then I got to get a Venmo card and all that other bullshit. But, anyways, I want to do something other than, like, fly a sign that says "Too ugly to prostitute." Um, and for those of you that think that sign's funny, the original sign was "Too ugly to prostitute and too honest to steal." Um, but people just shortened it over time. It just became "Too ugly to prostitute." It's kind of entertainment for me, and I use it for other purposes. But also, I want something to do that's going to be that seems less like begging and more like offering something for something. You back? Oh, I thought I heard him come in. But anyway, so I'm going to be working on that project. So I'm going to take these rocks and I'm going to paint them with the American flag, and I'm going to do the original 13 colonies, so the circle one, and I'm going to put on the back. I'm going to put 250 for the 250th. With my initials, and maybe one day after I die, they'll become very famous because and they might become a collector's item. Who knows? So, if any guys are in the Washington D.C. area in the next couple of days, you should come find me. Sam, shut up. Ah, I gotta go deal with my dog.
All right, here we go. I'm back. Oh shit, cat. What's going on? Oh no. Sorry, cat. Are you there?
Sorry, I had to deal with the dog.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
I thought everything was lost. One of my cats got in here and decided to. Hey, it's time to walk across the keyboard. And
Yeah.
you know,
The animals are acting up today, huh?
yeah. Okay, cool. I didn't know what was going on. I thought old guy got disconnected. My cat's over here looking at me. She's a younger one. She got addicted to caffeine. Um,
Oh, damn.
but yeah, bad cat, bad cat. Stay off daddy's desk.
I one day my wife and I we were doing our errands, and in Portland you have the Max train, and we were walking up, and there was this Capri Sun. It was sitting there. I was like, okay, somebody might just didn't want it, and they set it there. So I picked it up, put it in my backpack, completely forgot about it. Woke up the next morning, and the cat had gotten into my backpack and punctured that thing and started drinking it. Our cat, after that, if you've ever heard of stories of cats that have eaten Pop Rocks, it was a lot like that. Basically, it stared at the corner of the wall, went cross-eyed, and went "Nyah, nyah, 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 nyah," like it was fucking possessed.
Now I had a friend who had this dog who was it loved soda, but it would lick it and it would um it would bark at the soda as it was drinking it. and it was some funny shit. Um, yeah, fucking Chihuahuas, man.
Uh, dude, my first business partner, her oldest had a Brendel pit. And that thing fucking ate motor oil, 8 ounces of weed. Like you had to hide your weed because that dog would find it and eat it. And it actually is a test doggy for Kong because it can rip apart a Kong in less than 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping Sam would be that bad. She's bad, but she's only good with fucking like stuffed animals. She just likes to rip the butthole out of them. I swear, my dog is a deviant little
Well,
girl.
I'm having the same problem with this cat. The cat keeps trying to get up here and get into like.
It's like what I want matters more.
Yeah,
Move.
yeah. I mean, and I don't think people want to see me
You ever fought with a cat over a seat?
with a suit. Yeah, I have. I just toss them on the floor. I don't care. They get back in my lap.
Oh,
I
oh
mean, I mean,
no.
but that's one animal. You know, I do really good with. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm a
here to
cat
help a bunch
person.
of them. But
Cats are easier. They don't require that much attention. Dogs are like, love me, love me, love me. 5 minutes later, love me some more.
I don't mind do. They're now I got people blowing up my messenger. All right, yo, I'm live. Leave me alone. I mean, everybody knows I go live around 8 o'clock, give or take. I mean, that wasn't originally the case, but everybody knows I go live around 8 o'clock. And for some reason, everybody decides that it's a good time to call me or message me. And so I told them, I said,
Yeah,
if
they
I,
heard call me at 8 o'clock. They didn't hear a live
well,
stream at eight
I mean,
o'clock.
I also started saying, I say, if you call me or message me at 8 o'clock, I'm gonna put your ass live on the air. Um,
Oh, that's why they're coming.
yeah,
Okay.
so they want to test the threat, I guess you would say. Um, now let's say you have a cut on your arm. Maybe it's small, a scratch from a fence wire, or a scrape against a door frame. The kind of things are the kind of thing you forget about before the bandage dry. We all have those. Sometimes we've looked at our legs or arms or whatever, and we'll see blood there, and I'm like, hell, I must have hurt myself or scraped myself or something like that. Now imagine the cut is a door, and something is using it. Not a virus, not a bacterium, something with a mouth, something that moves, something that screws itself into your living tissue with a motion that is, and I really want you to hear this word, intentional. This is not a metaphor. That is the larva of the new world ScrewWorm. And
What do you
as
mean,
of,
new world?
yes, new world. You people don't know. People just don't know. They think this is different. I mean, they think that this is the old thing. No, they don't know. They don't understand. And as June 3rd, 2026, 12 days ago, it is officially back inside the United States for the first time in 60 years. Let me say that again. As of June 3rd, 12 days ago, it is officially back inside the United States for the first time in 60 years.
How did it leave? Did we vaccinate it out?
I'll get to that because that's an important part here. We're going to talk about this, what it does, why it's here, and why the official explanation for how this happened has a big ass hole in it. The kind of hole that keeps getting bigger the more you look at it. You guys already know what channel this is. You know who I am. And you know why you're here. This is Paranoid Times. Now let me start with the biology. Because the biology is where the horror lives. The New World screwworm is a blowfly. In Latin, it means human eater. Let me say that again. In Latin, it means human eater. Not human bitter, not human irritant, human eater. The adult fly is about twice the size of a common housefly. A metallic green-blue body, large reddish-orange eyes. Objectionably beautiful if you like flies. And if you can get past what it does.
Yeah, objectionably.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you could find the ugliest thing beautiful if you're really that demented. Wow.
Yeah, okay. I'm just throwing it out there. Now, the female finds a warm-blooded animal, any warm-blooded animal. She locates a wound, a cut, a tick bite, the soft tissue around a newborn animal's umbilical cord, the lining of a nostril, the margin of an eye socket. She doesn't need much. She lays her egg at the wound's edge in a shingle-like mass. They hatch in 12 hours. And then the larvae do what they're designed over millions of years of evolution to do. They don't eat dead tissue. That's critical here. Other maggots, your ordinarily blowfly larvae, will only infest necrotic tissue. So the only thing maggots would do, old maggots would do, is eat rotting tissue. Tissue that's already been whatever. But this doesn't have a preference. They're actually used in medicine for wound working. I've seen it. I don't like the thing about it. Now this one, it only eats living flesh. It has evolved specifically, exclusively, to feed on the living. The larvae have small, hardened mouth parts. They move in corkscrew motions, hence the name, boring deeper into a wound. As they feed, the wound enlarges. It becomes a pocket, then a cavity. The animal, the host, can feel this. It shakes its head. It paws at itself. It becomes aggravated. If nothing intervenes, the cavity gets colonized by more flies. The infestation grows. Bacteria moves in behind the larva, and sepsis follows. The animal dies from the inside out while still alive. In worse untreated cases, a single wound can kill a full-grown cow in 7 to 14 days.
Holy shit.
Yes. It kills a dog faster. It can kill a human. Now, here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. This is not a theoretical organism. This is not a distant threat. The USDA confirmed a case in a 3-week-old calf in Texas on June 3rd, 2026. Days later, a dog in Lee County, New Mexico. Cases are spreading into Los Angeles Valley or county, multiple states, Arkansas, California, and others. I believe I've seen it in Virginia. They have imposed emergency animal movement restrictions. You cannot move a dog across state lines from infected counties or without a veterinarian inspection certificate. You follow? There's places you can't take. There's places you can't take your dog. You'll never get out. The FDA issued an emergency use authorization this week for a treatment drug specifically for dogs and cats. Emergency use authorization. Let me say that one more time. The Food and Drug Administration has issued an emergency authorization for a drug to treat your pets for a parasite that eats living flesh. That's where we are now. To understand why this is so alarming, you have to understand what we achieved and what we lost. In the 1950s, the United States had a screwworm problem so severe it was considered a national crisis. Hundreds of thousands of livestock cases per year, billions of dollars of losses. The fly was endemic across America's South and Southwest. Cattlemen lived in fear of it. Then two USDA scientists had one of the most elegant ideas in history of applied biology. Instead of killing the fly directly, what if you flooded the population with sterile males? Males that would mate with wild females, producing no offspring. If you kept releasing enough sterile males, generation after generation, through biological modifications, genetic modifications, the population would collapse under its own biology. They call it the sterile insect technique. It worked. Over decades, the United States systematically pushed the screwworm south out of the U.S. The mid-1960s out of Mexico, out of Central America, one country at a time. By 2001, the entire landmass north of Colombia was screwworm free. The fly had been biologically pushed to a single choke point, a narrow strip at the Colombian-Panama border, where a joint U.S.-Panama program called COPEC maintained a permanent barrier. Every single week, the program released millions of sterile flies over the Darien Gap, the jungle gap between South and North America. Some of you might remember hearing about the Darien Gap during the election. A biological wall, invisible, highly effective in operations. It has been in operation continuously from 2006 until 2023. In June of 2023, the exact month is confirmed by COPEC itself. The barrier fell. No one announced it. There was no press conference. The barrier simply broke. And the screwworm exploded north into Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and into Mexico in late 2024. and now into the United States. 3 years from a barrier failed to America's soil. In 3 years, this organism covered the entire distance from Colombia to Texas. 3 years. Now the question is, why did the barrier fail? Here's the official story and its holes. And this is where it gets interesting. The official explanation comes in pieces from different government sources and people. And they don't quite fit together. One piece, COVID, supply chain disruptions. The pandemic, they say, disrupted the production of sterile flies at the Copec facility in Panama. Less productions meant less coverage. Less coverage meant breakthrough. That's a clean version. And I want to acknowledge
Wait,
this.
sterile flies?
Yes. They take sterile flies, introduce them to the population so the females can't breed ScrewWorm larvae, basically eradicating the population. Now,
Okay.
they can breed working ones. And it only took 3 years to get from way down there up to here.
That's not bad.
Nope, not at all. Yep. You know, here's what I find odd about the official story. Copec confirmed the barrier held through all of COVID. The collapse didn't happen in 2020 or 2021. It happened in the mid-2023, 3 years after the pandemic began. Well into the recovery of the most supplied chains globally. Now here's part 2, or piece 2. Illegal cattle movement. The Trump administration has pointed to migration and illegal livestock transportation through the Darien as a factor. The argument being that the infected cattle or wildlife were carried northward outside normal inspection channels. This is also plausible but incomplete. Because the ScrewWorm does not ride cattle passively. It spreads through fly jumps, or fly flight. About 12 miles per fly lifetime. That means a fly will move about 12 miles over the course of its life.
Which is like 72 hours.
Yeah. Well, kind of. If the infected hosts are moving, for a fly to have jumped from Colombia to Panama and all Central America to Mexico, in the timeline we are looking at, you need a lot of vectors moving fast and in the right direction. That's possible with a mass animal movement. But here's what an expert said in North Carolina. He told reporters directly, and I'm paraphrasing closely here. It wasn't apparent at the time, but the strain of the sterile fly being used has appeared to lose its effectiveness. So the very thing they were using to push back the population had failed because the screw fly had evolved.
Nature's fighting back.
She has teeth. The sterile fly has become less competitive with wild males, less able to beat them as females, less effective at suppressing the wild population. That's not a supply chain problem, that's a genetics problem. A problem that if you were designing a ScrewWorm biological control program would be your absolute worst case scenario because it means your weapon has been quietly degrading while you thought it was working. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. And I want to be clear. I'm asking a question and not making an accusation. If you wanted to reintroduce the New World ScrewWorm to North America, not openly, not with any fingerprints, what would you do? You wouldn't release wildflies. That's detectable. You would degrade the sterile fly program slowly over years through mechanisms that look like institutional entropy, budget cuts, infrastructure delays, supply chain disruptions. You would let the protective barrier quietly lose effectiveness, and then you would wait. The USDA's own records show the Panama facility was listed in the 2023 as one of their highest priority facilities in need of repair. The Congressional Research Service confirmed the facility has aged, underfunded, and operating at a reduced institutional capacity. Not sabotage, not necessarily, but a system designed to degrade, and degrading right on schedule, with no one visibly responsible. This was planned.
How is no one visibly responsible?
Because it looks like the system has fallen. It looks like the system has collapsed. The things they were doing were working. They knew that there were problems. They knew that there was other things. They chose not to fix them. They chose to underfund this. They knew what would happen. We've experienced it before. I think they could not figure out a way to fix it. Or this was planned all along to go with all these other things that is in this post. And I think it's been going on since JFK and Nixon. I think it has been going on for a very, very long time. I think
Well, there's always people that hate to throw a man.
I think when they said the New World Order, they really meant a new world.
I don't think so. I think that was taken out of context and twisted, because we have a changing world order all the time, and we have a new world order. Once that order changes, we get a new one. We keep getting new world orders. This is the first time in 500 years when the global restructuring, the West hasn't been at the table because of how crazy we've gone. So we've got a new world order. It's now the East. Right now, we're having an East versus West battle.
Yeah, but see, this will affect them too. This will
Oh
globally
yeah.
affect this will wreck the Chinese market. This will wreck. Yeah, this will dominate everything. This is too much here. Now I want to talk about what the scientists have actually done to the screwworm because this is publicly documented, peer-reviewed, government-funded research, and it's, well, extraordinary. In 2020, a team led by Maxwell Scott published the first complete genome of the screwworm. Massive. They identified 40 genes under positive selection, meaning the genes that show sign of rapid evolutionary pressures. They mapped heat shock proteins. They identified immune response architecture of the larva as they were feeding on tissue. They also identified germline genes, reproductive machinery, that would be needed to build a gene drive system. A gene drive is a genetic modification that overrides normal inheritance, spreads itself through a wild population, not in your children or your children's children, but in the next generation, and then the one after, and then that one, and that one, and that one. In 2016, researchers in North Carolina State had already published work on a transgenic screwworm strains that produced only male offspring. When a specific antibiotic called tetracycline is withheld from their diet, the off switch for the female survival is the antibiotic that has been in livestock. This is like a drug to them. And by the way, we use tetracycline quite a bit. All of us. We have to use it to, it's one of the top drugs they will give you for tick bites. If we're not already painting targets on our backs. Now, they've done amazing amount of work on this thing. And the reason they did this amazing amount of work is because it is a evil bug. Now, they were doing this because they wanted to stop it. They wanted to figure out how to stop it. But I think they left key data out of the mix, and we're just now finding that out. Now, let's talk about your dog or your cat. And you, let me bring this back to the ground level. Because there's a temptation, I feel it myself, to keep this in the realm of livestock economics and geopolitics and research papers, to let it stay abstract. But it is not abstract. The FDA emergency authorization issued this week is specifically for dogs and cats in affected areas. And now confirmed cases in Texas and New Mexico. Multiple neighboring states have quarantine protocols active. The screwworm does not prefer livestock over pets. It does not prefer pets over wildlife. It does not prefer wildlife over people. Any wound, any body opening, any warm-blooded animal makes you rethink sleeping naked at night sometimes.
Yeah, outside the covers in the middle of the forest, right?
Yeah.
Let's go streaking.
Oh man, I've done it. I have. I mean, yeah, it was something that had to be done. Anyway, now the USDA's fact sheet advises owners in affected areas to check animals for draining or enlarged wounds, to look for signs of discomfort, check body openings, nose and ears, and genitalia for eggs or larvae. Screwworm eggs are white and cream colored.
Well, Sam always wanted to be a mother.
Yeah, she's going to be. Not careful. The eggs are laid in a shingle pattern at the wound edges. They kind of look like flakes of skin. But those are eggs. They hatch in 12 hours.
And so they're coming from the flies?
Yes. See, you know, this is the thing that really bothers me a little bit. You know, we do talk about homelessness here a lot, and back when this was going on during the 50s, the homeless problem was not really a problem.
What do you mean? Because they were all in camps?
Well, no, no. 1950 was not. You still had them. They still traveled. They still moved around, but they weren't talked about or known or whatever like that. There was slum camps and things like that you would, they just weren't bothered that much.
Because they kept to themselves on a low
Right.
profile.
But here's the thing: there's a lot more homeless people. There's a lot
And
more that, and let's face it, you're out there, you're with flies and other stuff. You can easily come in contact with this. This could this could roll through the homeless population like a wildfire. And you have people who don't want to go to doctors.
oh yeah, and you've got a whole population that thinks. I mean, I've even seen it in the comments where they're like, "Dude, we should put you in concentration camps and fucking gas you." You know, there's a certain segment of population that wants to just completely exterminate the homeless community.
I mean, that would be the way they do it. I mean, that would be the most effective, logical way to do it. They would release something like this into the world, and it will just erasure. Um, but like I said, this affects everybody.
What states is it in right now?
Texas, New Mexico, neighboring states have quarantine on. Like I said, this is the first protocol that was released yesterday.
Do you have an article for it?
I can send it to you.
Please do.
Now, there has been no confirmed cases as in the United States as of this recording. The CDC rates the risk to humans are currently low, but I don't think they're taking other things into account here. The word currently is doing a lot of work here, guys. Historically, human screwworm cases have been documented. They follow the same pattern as animal cases. A wound, a body open, eggs, larvae. The larvae don't know or care that they're inside a person. They don't care that they're inside a junkie either.
Maybe it might change their DNA.
What kills them?
Maybe the drugs might actually kill off the fucking larva.
No, no. You're just going to have places for more flies. That's how flies work. They go. I mean, it's like you have one kind of fly that kills you, and then you have another kind of fly that eats you. I mean,
could you imagine? Could you imagine like somebody being like, yeah, I had it, but I did a bunch of meth, put a little bit of meth on the wound, man, fucking cured me. Now you got the whole fucking country doing it.
I mean, that's the kind of attitude people do. Now, during the 2016 outbreak in Florida, which you may not have heard of.
No, I wasn't down there.
Because it was largely contained. The animals most severely affected were key deer, an endangered species. The screwworm killed more than 10% of the entire key deer population in just a matter of months. The Florida outbreak also infected dogs, cats, and a raccoon.
You know what? The thought of being swept up to go to jail from these homeless camps sounds more enticing. I might just go and turn myself in. Hey, can I go to a detention center?
Yep. Now, this one is larger, moving faster. And we no longer have the institutional infrastructure that stopped the last one at a full operational capacity. What I'm trying to say is the methods that we had to implement to stop the screwworm in Florida and these other places do not work. And we have no idea how to fix that problem now. The USDA says we've defeated screwworms before, and that's true. But this condition that made the victory possible was there was political stability. There was a functional international partnerships. There was sustained institutional funding as an effective sterile fly program. Those conditions are all but present right now. I'm not saying this is uncontainable. I'm saying the margin is thinner than the official posture suggests. Now, I want to end the screwworm thing with something I'm speculating. Because that's what the show does, kind of, don't it? We follow documented facts to an edge, and then we ask what lives past that edge. Here's the thing that keeps staying with me right now. The screwworm was contained for 60 years. 60 years of unbroken biological laws, an achievement of institutional continuity that, and I mean this, is generally one of humanity's greatest victories in applied biology. Nobel Prize type stuff. And it failed in a way no one can fully explain. Not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, over years. In a system that was aging, underfunded, losing effectiveness, and nobody with the authority to fix it made it the first thing they should do. We have a complete map of the fly, its organism, its genome. We have the tools to modify its behavior. We know how it reproduces. Its host-seeking mechanics. We have a sterile fly program that, according to the scientists who study it, was used in a strain that has lost effectiveness for an unknown reason. The fly they were using to control the fly population had lost effectiveness for an unknown reason. We have a barrier failure that the official timeline only estimates backward from consequence, not forward for cause. Nobody knows exactly when it broke or why. We have an organism now moving through North America that costs billions of dollars per year to control. That will devastate livestock industries. That will threaten wildlife. That will threaten pets. And that can infest people. And whose reemergence is being blamed on a combination of COVID, migration, and institutional red tape. Each of those explanations is plausible in isolation. But once again, all of them together, they form something that feels less like a convergence of bad luck and more like a system that was designed to fail. Slow enough that no one would notice until it was too late to stop easily. I'm not naming a culprit yet. I'm naming a pattern. The pattern is a decades-long biological containment system quietly degrades through defunding and institutional neglect. The degradation is spread across enough agencies, enough administrations, and years that no single actor is ever identified. The failure produces an outcome. ScrewWorm reintroduction. That requires massive government spending, reshapes agriculture trade policy, creates a dependency on new pharmaceutical interventions, and produces the kind of crisis that justifies expanding regulatory authority. Who benefits from ScrewWorm in America? This is not a rhetorical question. This is a real one.
No one.
Pharmaceutical companies that hold patents on treatment drugs benefit. The FDA issued an emergency authorization this week. The authorization has a manufacturer on the other end.
Oh, so they're just gonna fake it like they did with the other stuff, huh?
Agriculture interests. They want to restructure cattle trade relationship benefits. The screwworm has already been used to justify closing and reopening ports of every entry to livestock from Mexico, moving with enormous economic consequences. Government agencies that need crises to justify budget benefits. The USDA's screwworm response has already received hundreds of millions of dollars in emergency funding. And whoever controls the sterile fly program going forward, because rebuilding that program is now a national priority worth billions and billions of benefits. Countries will be begging you for this. I don't know if any of this was intentional. I do know that the incentives are aligned in ways that are worth noticing. This is my official position on this. Not that we know, but that we are paying attention. Now, stretch a minute there. I am going to take a smoke break. And then when I come back, we're going to have to talk about the war on the American table. And if you're not from America, there's a war on your table as well. This is where we get into the meat, the flesh of the story. And while I'm gone, hopefully Tuck will talk to you guys. But I want you to think about what I said and what's coming. This isn't something we can stop. This is almost biblical. Tuck, you're on.
Oh, well, all right. I don't the screwworm thing. No, I don't. I could see that this to me this says this is like okay, we've been celebrating the defeat of globalism, which by defeating globalism it means you go back to isolationism. And well, now we're gonna be paying the effects of what globalism actually did. You know, we look at globalism and we go, "Oh man, it's horrible. It's a bunch of evil bankers and evil corporations." Yeah, they set it up for their benefit, but in benefiting themselves, it naturally benefits us. They don't want the screwworm because, you know, it'll infect them and they don't want to deal with it. So the rest of the population benefits from their spending on certain things like that. There are positives to every negative. I don't think globalism was completely bad, and I think that by going from one extreme to the other, it's the reason why we're having this problem to begin with. And I think that we should, as a society, we need to figure out a happy medium instead of just going, globalism's great. No, it isn't. Fuck globalism. let's go back to the way it was and just like punch each other in the face. It doesn't make any sense. Um, it's kind of like if you ever saw that South Park episode where they have the illegal aliens coming from the future, and so they had come up with this idea of let's all be gay and have a big old gay pile. And so they start doing it, and then the kids start teaching them how to plant. And then once the next alien comes through, um, the one of the dudes screams, "All right, everybody, back to the pile!" And that's basically what we're doing, is everybody's just going back to the pile. And I mean, it's neither that it's not going to solve anything. We are as a globe becoming and moving towards becoming interstellar, and you can't be represented on a country level should you come across other living forms of life, that sentient beings like us, that have the ability to communicate or do technology like what we do, right? They're not going to come down and make a deal with the United States, and Donald Trump. They're going to come down and make a deal with something like the United Nations, because when you're making a trade, you're making it on a global scale. Just like when you make a when you do international trade, you're doing it on a country scale. That's part of the reason why the District of Columbia was set up. The District of Columbia, if you look at it from a legal sense, is a holding trust excuse me, it is the executor of the trust known as the United States, where the states are the guarantors for the benefits of their citizens, and that meant being represented as a large bloc, kind of like the European Union, getting represented as a large bloc to the international markets, which allows for more commerce and better economics. So by banding together as the several states into the United States, we were able to benefit from things like that. So, I mean, as a globe, when we start taking this on an interstellar level, because let's say we colonize the asteroid belt, let's say we colonize Mars, let's say we colonize the moon. Well, eventually those will become their own planets and their own politics and their own culture, because they're no longer bound to the memories of Earth. And so again, we will have to. The moon is not going to do business with the United States, and the moon is going to do business with Earth. Mars is going to do business with Earth and the moon and the asteroids. It's not going to do it with, fractional governments like what we have right now. So, I mean, there are some benefits to globalism. The players that were at the top of it are the problem, not the institution itself. The institution itself has a lot of merit and is part of the societal evolution that we as a society need to make. And that's just my thought on this.
I didn't want to do that.
Good. Saved by the bell.
Yeah, I went out there and took one of my carts with me. Yeah, I think I need to refill it. But wasn't getting the hit I wanted, so I come back in. I tested a few of my other ones, and they're blocked. I got to fix those. So I hit what I cut off of that, and I went and I have a half a J sitting here on my mixer, and I didn't really want to do that. I went out there and I grabbed it, and I took about 5 quick hits off of it, and oh god, here we go.
Yeah. Do you listen to the live streams afterwards?
I do some of them.
Yeah, I do too. At least for mine, because I'm always curious. Like, how did I do? Because like you don't remember, or don't you? Like you're so in the moment, you don't even think about what's happened the whole time.
No, I know. I mean, I just uh, pretty much do. I mean, I have like certain restrictions I don't want to talk about, and I don't normally talk about those, so I know that those don't come out. I got like a reminder down here, and
Uh, it's a long list.
yeah, there's a long list. There's You get into it, and it may grow here soon. um, but anyway, now that I'm remedicated again,
Yeah, you got that serotonin hit.
yeah, I got that serotonin hit and some nicotine, and I'm still dripping caffeine.
I'm jealous of the caffeine.
I gotta have it. I really gotta have it.
Dude, I have to go to the drop-in center every morning to get a free cup of coffee because if I don't, I get caffeine headaches.
Man, I don't know how long tomorrow's is gonna go. I got a buddy that's stopping by and picking up some Doctor Enough soda for me. I haven't had it in a long time, but it's got vitamins and other stuff in it, and caffeine and this other stuff in it. It's an old drink from the '50s, but there's a type of B vitamin in there that works on me in a way that I can't really explain, and it's only works the way the drink is set up. And man, I get wide open. I go crazy. So, we might be on tomorrow if you're, or until you pass out, um, if you got the power for it. But now I want to step back even further. Now we're going to talk about the war on America's table, because the screwworm doesn't exist in isolation. If you have been watching this space at all, worried about your food and worried about your freezers and your pantries and your fast food hamburgers and things, if you found your way to this show, you probably have, you know about alpha gal syndrome, a tick bite, a specific tick, the Lone Star tick. When a Lone Star tick bites you, it injects a sugar molecule that's has a long chemical name, but basically alpha gal, into your bloodstream. Your immune system responds, and a significant percentage of people, the immune response permanently reprograms your body to treat red meat as an enemy. Let me say that again. Your immune system permanently reprograms your body to treat red meat as an enemy.
What about if it's cooked?
Enemy.
Uh, I
Not
thought I was going to get away with the technicality, kind of
no
like
no.
your dog's got to be on a leash. Didn't say anything about tethering it to you.
Yeah. Now this is when I say red meat, I mean meat that is this meat in any consistent way, that comes
So,
from an animal.
so
Uh,
you can't even eat chicken.
yeah, you won't be able to eat chicken. I mean, it affects everything. I mean, and like I said, it doesn't reprogram you right away. Not immediately, anyway. It takes up to 3 to 6 hours. The delay is what makes it so insidious. Let's say you eat a burger at noon and you're in anaphylactic shock at bedtime and you don't know why. Beef, pork, lamb, venison, dairy products. Some medications are derived from this tissue. They all become potential triggers. Researchers at Virginia's Commonwealth University found in 2025 there has been an explosive rise in tick-linked meat allergies across the United States. The CDC estimates say there's up to 450,000 cases that have been infected. And it's because it's not a notified condition. The true number is unknown. In 2025, a man in New Jersey died after eating a hamburger, becoming the first known death directly linked to alpha gal syndrome. Beginning in April 2026, Massachusetts doctors are now required to report cases to the State Department of Public Health. The Lone Star tick, once confirmed to the America South, has been expanding its range steadily northward and westward. Reports of Lone Star tick have been documented now in counties in California, Oregon, Utah, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota. And of course, it's here. Virginia, Florida, Georgia, New York, Massachusetts, Maine. Ranchers. Our cattle ranchers are among the hardest hit. A first of its kind survey at the University of Nebraska found that 69% of farmers and ranchers with alpha-gal said they had to modify work tasks due to their diagnosis. That means the farmers that were taking care of the cattle can't take care of the cattle. You're allergic to the cattle now. Now you can't take care of the cattle that you were selling to make your money. Weird, huh?
Ironic.
Yeah. And a 78% report their diagnosis was causing significant distress and worry about their productivity on their farms and ranch. People who raise beef cattle for a living are bitten by ticks and rendered allergic to their own products. Now hold that image alongside what we've just spent the last hour discussing. Flesh-eating parasite that specifically targets warm-blooded animals, particularly in livestock, has re-entered the United States for the first time in 60 years through a barrier failure that no one can fully explain. In an organism whose DNA has been mapped and whose reproductive biology has been genetically modified by researchers with access to those tools. The American cattle herd, before any of this, was already at its lowest point in 75 years. Since 2017, the United States has lost over 17% of its family farms. More than 100,000 operations over the last decade. The national herd is at its 75-year low, while consumer demand for beef has grown by 9% over the past decade. Meat and poultry processing industry contributes $57.3 billion to the U.S. economy and supports nearly 584,000 jobs. This isn't a second industry. This is a pillar of the America food sovereignty, and it is being hit from multiple directions simultaneously. Now let me tell you what certain people in certain rooms have said publicly about meat. The World Economic Forum, Davos, Schwab, a gathering of people who openly say they will redesign civilization, published a prediction in 2017 about their projections for 2030. You will eat much less meat. An occasional treat, not a staple, for the good of the environment and our health. When you read it, it sounds evil. And this is what these people are planning. This is what they have been planning. This is not a hope. That's a roadmap. Their September 2024 Food Innovation Roadmap describes a phased approach where alternate proteins, including insects, would at first provide options before particularly substituting some of the areas of animal-based proteins over time. Complementarily at first, substituting later. The language is careful. The direction is not ambiguous. And here is where I ask the questions that every journalist in a mainstream outlet will refuse to ask. What if you didn't need to pass a law to get Americans to stop eating beef? What if you could engineer the conditions where beef becomes dangerous, expensive, and scarce through mechanisms that each look a lot like the act of God? A supply chain disruption, a shift, a random outbreak. The tick that makes red meat lethal spreads into a new geography. A flesh-eating fly that destroys livestock from the inside reemerges after 60 years through a failed barrier. The cattle herd already at a 75% year low. The pharmaceutical industry positioned to sell emergency treatments at every new crisis point. An alternate protein industry backed with the same foundations, investment networks that fund the food transition agenda, waiting in the wings with insect flour and lab-grown substitutes. Now, I need to make you aware that the people who hold the money for climate change, like I was talking about earlier, also hold the money for this. Now, I want to be precise with what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the Lone Star tick was released deliberately. There's no documentation, no documented evidence of that. I'm just saying it could. I'm not saying that the ScrewWorm barrier was sabotaged by a named actor. There's no evidence of that. But what I am saying is this. There is documented, published, open, stated agendas held by some of the most powerful institutional actors on earth to dramatically reduce American consumption of red meat by 2030 at all cost. There is a documented, simultaneously degradation of the biological systems that protect the America's livestock for 60 years. This is documented. Simultaneously, ecological expansion of a tick species that renders people allergic to the very meat those systems protect. And the people who benefit from the destination, a world where Americans eat processed insect proteins instead of a ribeye, are the same people that have the institutional access, the research fundings, and the state ideological movements to be patient about how they get there. I don't think this is random. I don't think these three things compounding perfectly timed threats to the American beef supply, one ecological, one parasitical, and one biological, each with their own plausible innocence explanation, are the product of bad luck. I think there's a class of people, globally connected, institutionally entrenched, ideological, committed to a vision of the world that most Americans would reject if it was presented honestly. And they are patient. They work in decades. They don't need individuals to do anything dramatic. They just need systems to degrade at the right direction, at the right speed, and with enough deniability at each step that no one can point to the moment it was decided. The ScrewWorm is not the end of the story. It is one instrument in a longer movie. The title of this episode is The Flesh Equation. The flesh equation is this: when you make meat dangerous enough, expensive enough, and scarce enough, through enough separate mechanisms that each one looks accidental, you don't need to ban it. People will choose to stop eating it, or they will be medically compelled to stop eating it, or the animal that produces it will be destroyed before it reaches the slaughterhouse. Any of those paths lead to the same destination, and the destination was written down in public by powerful people years ago. Now, I want to talk to you about the sky, because the ticks came from somewhere. The screwworms came back from somewhere. And the cattle, the ones that survive both, still have to eat. And what they eat comes from the ground. And the ground needs rain. Right now, as we record this, drought covers nearly 90% of Nebraska and Oklahoma, with more than half of Nebraska classified as being in an extreme drought. Only 30% of the U.S. winter wheat crop is rated good to excellent. 30%. The lowest rating since 2023. Roughly half the crop in Colorado, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas is categorized as poor to very poor, indicating high risk of yield losses. Dry terrain has contributed to spark destruction, wildfires across the southern plains, burning roughly 1 million acres of hayfields and pastures by the end of March. Kansas wheat harvest projected in 2026 is about 130 million bushels less than it was in 2025. The first year average is 315 to 320 million bushels. One farmer abandoned 90% of his wheat crop. Wheat is what the cattle eat. When wheat fails, food cost spikes. When feed cost spikes, cattle producers sell off their animals, not because they want to, but because they can't afford to keep them. That liquidation further shrinks the herd. The herd is already at a 75-year low, as I said. The drought is already pushing cattle producers toward costly feed purchases, prompting some of them to abandon plans to expand their herds. People are calling this the second Dust Bowl. And I want to be honest about something here. Droughts happen. They have always happened on the Great Plains. The climate of the high plains is harsh and cynical. That is documented history going back centuries. But I want you to hold on to the truth alongside something else. Something that is also documented, also real, also in public record. In 1996, a team of United States Air Force officers wrote a research paper for the Air Force 2025 study called Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. Now, I'm not going to go into what's in it. I am just going to tell you what it says. The abstract reads, In 2025, a U.S. aerospace force can, air quotes, own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focuses developed off of those technologies by warfighting applications. Some are capabilities offer a warfighter tools to shape the battlefield in ways never before possible. The paper describes weather modification as having, and I quote directly, a high risk, high reward, not unlike splitting the atom. The authors acknowledge that the only reason they don't discuss more serious weather control, large scale climate modification, control of storms, is that it is believed it would be technically feasible until 2025. Such applications would have been included in the report as a potential military options, they wrote, despite their controversial and potentially malevolent nature. Those are their words, not mine. This is a declassified U.S. military research document available on the Internet Archive, cited by academic journalists and confirmed authentic. The Air Force has never disputed its existence. Now, cloud seeding, the actual current operation weather modification technologies, is real, documented, and has been used in the United States. 9 U.S. states are currently using crowd seeding, while tens have banned and considered banning weather modification entirely. The GAO confirms cloud seeding has been practiced in the United States since the 1940s. I want to add that if you remember, not long ago, there was a camp, a summer camp in Texas, full of kids, and they decided to seed the clouds and cause storms in Texas they had never seen before. It killed the majority of that compound of kids. It seems like everybody's forgot about that. The guy that owned the company was being publicly shamed and talked about. No one talks about that anymore. The guy didn't know what he was doing. You could see that the way he talked about these things. He was the definition of a puppet.
Well, nobody talks about Ollie North either.
Well, I'm just saying is the guy that was in charge, that had a company that was paid to do this. You could tell he was a puppet. I mean, this was something that people could talk. I wasn't doing videos then. I would have pointed it out. But now, a peer-reviewed paper published in February 2026 documents a surge in weather modification projects reported in the recent years, described a growing interest in adopting weather modification as a drought management strategy. That's the official framing. Drought management. Using existing participation, yeah, to redistribute rain. But the same research notes that cloud seeding is operated by state programs, private contractors, and utilities. With reports submitted to the NOAA and compiled, scattered, inconsistent, formatted PDFs that until recently were largely hidden from us. 836 reports spanning 25 years, scanned and stored on PDFs, not structured, not searchable, not transparent in any meaningful sense. I am not going to tell you that someone is seeding the clouds over Oklahoma to create drought conditions that will destroy the wheat crops and starve cattle. I am going to tell you that the technology to manipulate this exists. Just like them manipulating the weather in Washington. Go look for the videos and pictures. Now, it has been used. It is overseen by a patchwork of state agencies, private contractors, and is documented in a format specifically designed to be difficult to analyze. I am going to tell you that the United States military wrote in 1996 that weather was a weapon and that they were actively working toward owning it. I am going to tell you that we are right now watching the feed supply of the American cattle collapse in real time, on top of a livestock herd already at a historical low, on top of a flesh-eating parasite that has just been reintroduced into the country, on top of a tick-borne illness that makes people allergic to the meat those cattle produce. I am going to ask the question that I don't think anyone in a position of institutional authority is asking. What if the sky is part of the plan? I want to name something directly to you because I have been careful, kind of careful, throughout this episode. Careful to distinguish documented fact from interference. Careful to say I don't know or I don't know. Careful to label the question as a question. But here's what I believe. Not what I can prove, what I believe. I believe there's a group of people, not a secret society with names and a handshake, but a network of institutional actors, foundations, research programs, policy forums, and ideological aligned individuals who have decided that the America way of eating, specifically beef to Americans food culture, is the problem they intend to solve. If you look back after World War II, after Germany, you can see that they did make the hamburger patriotic. What if you take that away from a culture? You're stripping the very things that make us American away from us. You're slowly and methodically taking everything away so you can create something new. They didn't do this through laws, not through banning anything, through being patient, distributed, denied the degradations of every system that makes this beef possible. The land, the water, the biological barriers, the animals, and us who eat them. Every mechanism has its own plausible explanation. Climate change explains drought. Doesn't explain where their money goes, though. Institutional neglect explains the ScrewWorm barrier failure. The ecological shift explains the ticks range expansion. Research progress explains the DNA mapping. But the direction is consistent. The destination is consistent. And the people who benefit from this destination, who have written down in public documents that they want you eating less meat by 2030. That alternate proteins are the future. That the food system must be transformed. Those people have the resources, the access, the ideologies to make patience their primary weapon. They don't need to flip a switch. They just need to not stop what's already happening. Science was supposed to be the thing that protects us. The ScrewWorm program, that was science. 60 years of a biological wall that held a genuine human triumph. The DNA mapping of this and the sterile fly research, the weather modification technologies, the tick biology, the alpha-gal mechanism, it's all science. But science is not neutral. It never was. It's a tool, and tools go hand in hand with them. When you ask, has science been turned against us? I think the right question framed almost exactly right. But I think I would add one word to it. Whose science? And who decides the direction to point it? The American table is under attack from above, below, and from within the flesh of the animals that feed us. The ground is dying and drying. The flies are back. The ticks are spreading. The herds are shrinking. And somewhere, in the language of a Davos roadmap, somebody called this the transition. Stay clean out there. Check your animals and check your sky. Watch what's on your plate. And watch who decides what was allowed to be on it. This is Paranoid Times, and this is my show.
Oh wow. Okay. Did I mute myself? No. Okay, good. Wow, that was a pretty good show, man. Did I lose you?
Yeah, no, you're here. You're here. I was taking a drink. My mouth went instantly dry, and I couldn't talk. But same time, same station tomorrow, people.
All right, I'll see you then.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you guys for sticking around with me and hearing me ramble. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. If you want to share the show, that's fine with me. I don't mind. I don't mind you sharing any shows. But I would like, what I want you to do is tell somebody about what's happening. I want you to reach out to people, say, look, there's some weird stuff going on. There's some weird connections with this. I mean, this is believable. This isn't a conspiracy. Somebody is actively trying to control America's meat market. And they're killing some of us along the way. Anyway, stay paranoid, my friends. I'll be here tomorrow night. And good night.